I'm sitting here with Jen Hirst, the founder of Lighthouse Sobriety. Jen, how are you doing today?
I am doing well. How are you?
I'm doing super good. So I have to tell you a little secret. I had seen or known of you ever since I started my sober journey because you were posting on Instagram, and as we kind of met through the years and stuff like that, it's just been so cool to watch how long you've been in this space and how much of an influence you have. So congratulations on all of that.
I had no idea. That's so cool. And I mean, when I heard of you and just hearing your journey as well, and especially through your podcast, was so inspiring, and really helped me on mine into becoming a sober coach, and just logistics of it and how you did that was super helpful for me too.
Oh, well, I can't wait to share with the audience all the good stuff that we have. So, tell us a little bit about your backstory. How did you get into sobriety in the first place?
Yeah, well, I always like to say no one is off limits. I just celebrated 11 years, 11 and a half years alcohol free, and I now coach women on how to boost their confidence in sobriety by implementing these habits from the get-go to have you feeling your best throughout this process. And so I really got into sobriety, like going into my story, do you mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And I always like to say that no one is off limits. When I post on my Instagram, you see someone who has it all together. You see someone smiling. I don't have pictures of me passed out. I don't have pictures of me or videos even. And so I like to say that looks are deceiving. I was really good at hiding it. I was your classic closet alcoholic. And I would like to say on a spectrum, I was one of those more severe cases. I was at rock bottom. I hit many rock bottoms, and I don't think many people understand how low that I got and how close I was to not waking up. But you wouldn't know it because, again, I was really good at hiding it. And little did the guests at my wedding know, but that was one of my rock bottoms of how much anxiety that was going through me. And so I grew up in a great home. I didn't have alcoholic parents. I got good grades. I achieved things, but I turned to alcohol to manage anxiety, to manage fear. Anytime I got nervous, I went to alcohol, and I did sort of normal drinking in high school and college. And it was through doing an alcohol use history, a usage history that I did in one of my treatments, that I really uncovered that there was a turning point, that something that planted the seed from turning it from quote unquote fun into medicating. And that was when my second boyfriend wanted to go on a break. And I didn't know what to do with all this heartbreak. And so the guys I was living with said, "Hey, just take this Adderall. You're going to feel amazing. You're not even going to think about him." And I was like, you know what? I don't do drugs. Little did I know alcohol was a drug until about 5 years ago. But I thought, what the heck? I'm just going to do it. And so I did it. I felt amazing. And then that planted the seed that I could take away any hard feeling that I felt with alcohol. And that was accepted. I did it with my friends. So the more and more I got nervous, the more I drank. And as an overachiever, as an Enneagram 3, who is the achiever, who I could do anything I set my mind to, I put so much pressure on myself to be perfect, to look perfect. And I drank because I could never measure up. And so when I drank, I increased my anxiety. And when my anxiety increased, I would drink until kind of the year leading up to my wedding, where I was working full time, doing freelance full time, and I was planning the wedding all by myself, and I was drinking every night. And in these periods, I would set goals for myself. And it was really the day of my wedding and even the day after, I would say a couple days after, where I really collapsed. Of no one really knew what was going on. I was drinking around the clock, and I kind of gave up trying to hide it. And so began my year-and-a-half journey of actively seeking sobriety, of going into my first AA meeting. I think I have literally tried everything and to get sober. I've done outpatient. I've done inpatient 3 times because I loved it so much. I've done outpatient about 8 times. I've been to detox twice. I've been to the psych ward. I've gotten 2 DWIs. I've gotten all of these red flags. But it was really in that point of admitting to my husband what was going on, admitting to my parents, going into AA, knowing that that didn't work, getting that sponsor, going into outpatient, that wasn't working, going into inpatient, which I loved, which I highly recommend if you see fit if you're able to do it. It was some of the best times of my life because I was able to focus on myself. And then coming back, relapsing, going back into their extended care. But I just kept losing things too. And I kept to this thing of, you know what? Well, I haven't done that yet. And then those things started to happen very, very quickly. I lost my job. I lost my car. I got a DWI. I was on the verge of losing my marriage. I had no money. I was becoming homeless until really I was staying at my parents' and I was taking Adderall, I was drinking, and I was really felt myself kind of crumbling. And my hands started to go numb and I didn't know what was going on. So I Googled it, of course, and it said symptoms of cardiac arrest. And
Mhm.
I was even dabbling with, because I felt so much shame over what I was doing and so much hiding of just what it takes to keep up a drinking career is so exhausting. My entire life, my entire day was trying to manage it, recover from it, control it, all of these things. And so would dabble into mouthwash. Mouthwash was actually my drink of choice for the last year because I didn't feel as much shame going into Target to buy mouthwash than I went into rotating my liquor stores. No one knew. I even drank rubbing alcohol. I mean, this is how deep my craving was of how uncomfortable it can feel if you continue down this path, and that I never thought it was going to happen to me until it did. And so it just got to a point where I blacked out at my dad's office, and they took me to my detox. I blew a .34, and that really scared me because I've been drinking like that for well over 2 years. I had no idea how many other times I came so close to not waking up. And it was in detox where I made the decision. I had court the next day. I had no money. My husband wasn't talking to me. My parents didn't know what to do with me. I didn't know how much longer I had. It was there where it was kind of like an out of body experience where I looked down on my life of this girl who had everything, who had great parents, great childhood. I didn't fit the bill of an alcoholic. Yeah, I don't like to even use that term anymore. And that's even another discussion of how I label myself. Um, and now I'm sitting here homeless in detox and with no job. And I just said, I don't know what's going to happen with my life, but as long as I don't drink, I can't make this any worse. I cannot go any lower. And it was that moment where I just surrendered, I let go, and I just kept doing the next right thing. I had so much stuff to clean up. I had so much stuff. I had to get a breathalyzer in my car. I had to do house arrest. I had to do a day in jail. I had to pay back my lawyers. I had to do all of these things. But I was able to do that because I was sober and I stopped fighting it. I stopped fighting something that I could not control and I just accepted it. And I didn't want to drink anymore at that point. I always tried to figure out this way to make it work. And I really feel like it comes down to you have to really want it and you got to be ready. And I really wanted sobriety for a while, but I just wasn't ready. I had to go do field research for me to get there. And I tell that to my clients. I'm like, if you are not ready, go do field research until you are. Because that's what it took for me. And it was just a switch in my brain. And I'm not saying the treatments didn't work. All of that stuff adds up. All of that stuff is building up to get you to that decision of this click moment. And I would like to say, and everything was so much easier once I stopped fighting it and I just accepted it. And it's so amazing what can happen to your life when you give up just one thing. Within a few months, I got a job back in my field, and within those few months, I biked. I found a local printing shop. My career's in graphic design. I biked there because I didn't have a car. I just accepted it. I biked to my treatment. I just made it work. I just accepted responsibility. This is my thing. I'm going to clean it up one thing at a time. And then within 4 months, we learned I was pregnant, which blew my mind because how on earth, after years and years of abuse, was I able to do that? I wanted something like that for so long. And the years of abuse I did, I just knew I wasn't going to be able to do that. And so I treat my body with respect now because I know how lucky I am to be able to do that. And so I want to treat my body well. And then within 4 months, I got a job back in my field, a fantastic job as a brand manager. Within 6 months, I was promoted. Within a year, we had my son. He was the greatest gift to come out of my sobriety. And then I think in a year and a half, we bought our first house. Like all of these things that I envisioned before I went into my treatment, my last treatment, I had this visualization. Little did I know what that was yet. And I saw our life, and my husband and I were driving. He wasn't talking to me. And I saw this house. I saw two kids, and I saw what life could be like. And I just held on to that vision of this is what it could look like. And it's so crazy that that's what I have now. Now, I didn't envision my life living in the country with 20 chickens and 5 cats and all of this, but it's so funny how you just have to try something and how your mind can change. I love the country, and this is our house. And I've built not even that life, but it's such a more beautiful life than I could have ever imagined. And all I'm doing is I'm not consuming alcohol. And so, if you're listening to this and maybe you are struggling, but you just got to have faith that things are going to work out and trust the universe has your back. And so, long story, kind of short, that's my story. And that's what I've now turned it into. And I value so much of what we're able to do, what we're able to accomplish when we don't have this one thing holding us back anymore.
Yeah. Wow, Jen, like I seriously am on the seat of my pants like with your story and it's, like a soap drama almost, but to know now where you are today, like you were literally a foremost leader in this industry and to like watch your career rise and to see how many women and people's lives that it impacts and like that to me is like such a crowning achievement that came out of that entire story and that came out of like the depths of that despair and that pain and all of that hardship. Whew, that's so much to go through. So I'm super curious, like you have this experience, you're getting your life back on track. Like at what moment do you decide like I'm supposed to help other people with this?
Yeah, and it's so crazy how things work out for you, right? And I had just had my daughter, and I wanted to lose the baby weight, right? I loved going to the gym. It was a huge tool in my sobriety. I loved moving my body. But I found with two kids, I couldn't find that time to do so. And so it all happened by scrolling this post, and I went into Beachbody. That's really how it all started. I didn't intend to be a sober coach ever. I didn't even talk about my sobriety for 4 years. I kept in the sober closet. I did not talk about it. I didn't think anyone cared. No one asked me about it. But there's this deep desire of why aren't people asking me about it? Are people afraid? I want to share about it. And going and being raised in the rooms of AA, there's nothing wrong with AA. That was just all that was around way back when. Being anonymous didn't sit well with me because it solidified the shame that this is something I should be ashamed about, that I
Mm.
shouldn't acknowledge anybody outside. I know why we have the traditions, but I didn't want to be silent anymore. And so I was scrolling in bed like we all do, and I came around this transformation of this woman, of this before and after, like they always do. And her transformation was so incredible, and I'm so inspired by women with muscles. I think that is so motivating. And I just followed her. I never do that. And she went to this, what they call Beachbody Summit. And I'm like, there's a reason I'm following this random woman on the internet and interested in what she does. I want to be a part of that. I love these workouts. I love the Shakeology. It taught me how to eat. And I'm like, maybe I should be a coach. But I don't share anything. It's awkward for me. I don't take pictures of myself. I hide behind my kids. I wear black because I struggle with self-image. But there's a reason I'm doing it. And so I signed up as a coach, and part of the 4 vital behaviors of Beachbody is to share your story. And so you take a deep breath, you're awkward. How do I take a picture of myself? You try to look cool. And then not sharing about my sobriety. I can't expect people to trust me with these products, which I fully believe in. And I still use them today. Every single freaking day. I've had a Shakeology since 2017. It's changed my life. It's made my life easier. I can't expect them to trust me if they don't know this side of me. If they don't know it, and I feel like I'm ready. And I told my husband within 2 weeks, I'm like, I think I'm supposed to come out. He's like, okay, sure. And so wrote this post. It took me 3 minutes to write it. I still have it, September 7th, 2017. And when I look at my sobriety dates, I have two sobriety dates, April 23rd, 2014, which is the day I got sober and took back my life. And September 7th of 2017 was the day I came out, and that changed my life forever. Now, it didn't happen overnight. I wrote it. I said, hey, I'm Jen. I'm an alcoholic. Here's why I drank. Here's what I've received from sobriety. I posted it right before I went into a meeting. I threw my phone. I had, just the hangover of, oh my God, the vulnerability. I can't believe I just did that. And I came back to so much love, so much encouragement. I didn't feel like I had to hide it anymore. It was like this huge weight had been lifted. And I'm not saying back then many people followed me. This was on Facebook, but now I could start talking about it. Now it's like the big elephant was out. Hey, this is what's going on. It was like me claiming this and owning it and not being afraid anymore. And so the more I posted it, my intention was to leave my job, become a full-time Beachbody coach. But the more I breadcrumbed it in my posts, the more responses and engagement I received on my sober ones. And it took me a long time to figure this out I don't think I'm supposed to help women lose weight. I think I'm supposed to help them get sober. They keep asking me about this and how this has helped them. And it just kind of led me to this point. And I know you are or were a fan of Rachel Hollis, and I went to her Rise conference in Minneapolis, and it completely changed my life. And I looked at that, I'm like, this is what I want to do. I want to rebrand sobriety. I want it to be fun. I don't want you to have to get sober. I want you to want to get sober. I want it to open so many doors for you that this is a fun, exciting opportunity for you, and to just change our mindset of it. It's not this ho-hum thing of, oh my God, and this. It's, oh my gosh. Look at what this has held me back from. And now look at all the opportunity that I have in front of me. And what if I could marry the importance of movement and wellness, of taking care of yourself, but especially with exercise? The two are so similar in their benefits, and marry those two together to help women boost their confidence, help them boost dopamine, help them feel better in this process. And so that's what I did. And it didn't happen overnight. I had to, I started with private clients, then I went to group coaching, because that's where the magic is. Group coaching, the women, we help each other. That's exactly how AA was started. One person helping another person. And so that's what I really intended to do. And so I always thought I needed validation that I was good enough. That no, I need to learn this and I need to do that. But I really feel like with sobriety, your experience, your past is your qualification. My past is I've been sober, or I was sober for 6 to 7 years. Something that I was doing was working in the habits that I was doing, in cleaning up my nutrition, in moving my body, in reading personal development, which I credit Beachbody for. I had no idea what personal development was. I was like, what is this? What? And my first book was You Are a Badass by Jen Sincero. And I remember I was going through some stuff at work of so many things that personal development and self-growth, personal growth books can offer you so much clarity into your past, of me being so worried of what others would think. And I remember this passage in it of how others treat you are a mirror of what they're insecure about within themselves. And I was going through some things at work, and I was like, what, honey, Waylon, oh my God. It was like a revelation. I'm like, no way, this one book. It's such a classic book. I highly recommend it. But all of these things help me to clarify, limiting beliefs, give me the confidence to keep going. All of those things, whatever you're struggling with, so often you can find it in a podcast, in a book. I loved your book. When you sent that to me, I'm like, this woman, Yes, absolutely. And I loved how you wrote about it from this positivity and a get to mindset. And what is this doing for you? It's offering you so much opportunity. And so that's really how it started. But again, I thought I always needed to be good enough that I wasn't good enough, but I was already helping women inside my DMs and they were saying how much it's helping. And so I just took that and I started with private clients, then had the magic of the group coaching, then to help state keep them together, then let's move into the membership and just keep this going instead of, okay, guys, see you later, go figure it out. Let's just keep everybody together because we grow these close relationships with each other. And I wanted that to continue. And so just looking at these different avenues of ways to stay connected, ways to help someone in their journey that I didn't have 12, 13 years ago of how can we make this process easier? How can we make this more enjoyable? And how can I get you there faster from what my experience?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, Jen, you almost brought me back so close to like the very beginning of my journey. I almost forgot that like tenderness of just like coming out and being like, this can be the biggest point of pride instead of feeling like it's an Achilles heel, and then just finding all of the community that was out there and then forming your own like circle of influence and mine and all the ways that like I hope that anyone who's listening to this is like, yes, that's why I'm qualified to be able to do this work is because I went through it for a reason. And I think that that's something that we can really, really honor as like a good enough, you know what I mean? And take that perfectionist or that imposter syndrome off and just know that like there's something at work here. You know, there's something that's been guiding me to this level of helping. And whether we help people informally or formally is going to be, you know, dependent on each person's kind of unique preference. But like, what's the point of being alive in this world if it's not to help other people? Right?
Yeah. And what better feeling than helping someone change their life, but save their life? And there's nothing more fulfilling. There's nothing with greater purpose when someone can come to you and say, thank you for saving my life. You change people's lives. And I wasn't going to, nothing wrong with graphic design. I wasn't changing people's lives by making something look pretty. What I love about it is that now I can carry that into my business.
Mhm.
But man, that's what makes it all worth it is, knowing because you've been through it, you know where they're at and you know where they can be. So that is the most fulfilling and rewarding, but also it didn't happen overnight. You got to stay consistent. I've been working at this since 2017 and it's 2024, right? So you just got to stick with it. And it's what that Jay-Z quote, the genius thing that we did was we never gave up. You just keep going, you keep trying new things, and know that it's all going to work out and it's going to lead you to where you're meant to be.
Yeah. Oh, such good business advice. I can't wait to pick your brain a little bit more on like how you created this gorgeous empire and have you helped so many people. But before we do, I wanted to go back a little bit back to the exercise and the like the wellness elements that, you know, you have a very solid, like very habit-based approach that you help people with. And I know that's like a core part of your philosophy. And I love how like that's like very like Rachel Hollis-esque too. And like she helped me so much too, like just like really own the day and like really be in the state and the mood I want to with these like habits. So I'm super curious a little bit about like what this does, like especially when you're changing such a big life area, like changing your relationship with alcohol. What is the power of like exercise on that? What kind of new habits do you help like the people who work with you instill? And then do it anyone like what do you what happens if we get like too overwhelmed as well? You know how like when you're just like I'm changing everything in my life, you know, and it's like a little too unsustainable. So like what how do you guide people through that as well?
Yeah, and that's a great question because I'm running a group right now and accepting everybody where they're at. I have women who are gung-ho, type A, go-getters. I'm like, I'm going to do all these habits and I need these to keep me consistent. And that's what I love about habits is, especially with alcohol, is that when you remove that, you got to replace it with something. And you're going to find that you have a lot more free time. And you're going to have a lot more opportunity with your thoughts of what am I doing when I'm not getting wasted anymore? Of I don't know what to do at night. And so what I love about the habits is they help fill the time, they help boost dopamine, they help to improve your confidence, but also meeting people with where they're at. So at the beginning of my programs, I ask, are you a crawler? Are you a pace setter? Or are you a sprinter? And so they all kind of see like what kind of paces they're at, what they're going to be okay with, and know that every pace is welcome. But above all else, of the 6 habits that we go through in my programs, the number one habit is to stay sober by any means possible. If you didn't do any of the others, now all of the other habits help you stay sober. They're going to help fill your time, boost your confidence. Exercise is going to help your brain, like all of these, and we can get into that. They're all going to help you stay sober. And if you can get to them, fantastic. But your main goal, above all else, is to stay sober. If you do not have your sobriety, then you don't have any of those other things. And so having them be okay with good enough. And for those that are go-getters that are like, I do these all the time and they're so helpful and they give me direction, they give me confidence, I have a sense of control, they're a way that I start my morning. But again, meeting people with where they're at and knowing that their pace can change throughout the program and depending on what life is going on at that point, like if a curveball happens, life is going to be different. Your best is going to be different every single day. So that's kind of how I navigate it and how I, again, shift and change my programs with what is going to be best and how am I going to fit all of those different needs, knowing that you don't have to do all the habits. But I just really want you, if your main goal is just to stay sober and that's all you can muster right now, absolutely. And if you fall off, I do not want you to be perfect. And I stress this all the time. If you don't make a check mark, that's okay. If you slip up, the worst thing that you can do is to pull away. I want you to come back. I have slip worksheets, and I just want you to get it out. I just want you to get it out and to voice it. You're not going to die. You just keep going. And that's, I think, the hardest part is if someone slips to get them to come back. And so I just reiterate it, and reiterate it because nowhere, if you have 95%, do we see that as failure? That's incredible success, right? And so that's a whole process. And I like to look at it as slips as learning opportunities. What did you learn from it? Because all of those have so much impact in getting you mentally where you need to be done with this. You learn from it. Oh my God, I didn't like how the way I feel. Or I probably need to set a boundary because that identified a trigger for me, whether it's a time, a place, a person, all of those things. There's so much learning opportunity that can happen inside the program. Now with the habits, the habits that I recommend is water. So making sure you're drinking and staying hydrated. This helps curb cravings. It helps boost our mental clarity, especially if you're dealing with brain fog. It can help you sleep. All of these things can help you, again, especially in the withdrawal process. Many of us wake up dehydrated. So it's really important to make sure we're hydrated, especially if you're going through early sobriety fatigue. Now, another habit, and this is, well, going back to water, for some women, drinking half your body weight in ounces of water is a lot. And it's a lot to take on all at once. So if that's too much, I recommend 64 ounces. If that's too much, at least when you wake up, drink 8 ounces of water. Start your day with water before caffeine, always. And then we get into gratitude. So writing down, and again, I got this from Rachel Hollis too, and it's really helped how I look at things and finding the good. So writing down 5 things that you're grateful for from the past 24 hours. And when I started this practice, when she did it in her Start Today journal, it was really freaking hard for me. I had no idea what I could find grateful for. I'm like, I don't know what good happened. And so I Googled, what can I be grateful for? And I would Google Start Today journal. What did other people feel grateful for? I'm like, oh, and the more you get into the practice of it, you're going to be on the lookout to find those things and to look at circumstances with, again, this get to mindset of finding the good in life of, man, this happened, but there's so many other great things that are happening as well. And so I think this is really important when looking at sobriety is so often we can look at, oh, this is happening to me and this happened, but it's like, well, what good is happening? Find the good. What is it? My gosh, yesterday I went on like 3 mental health walks. I loved it. Or my daughter gave me the biggest hug when I saw her the other day. Like finding those moments that just bring you so much happiness. And then the third one is reading 10 pages from a personal development book or a Quitlet book, because again of how much influence that had on me, of reframing how you're talking to yourself. And I love what Maya Angelou says is, when you know better, you do better. Learn how other people have done it. Take what you want and then leave the rest. Every single book I've read, I've gotten something out of it. Highlight it, whether it's resources, or if you're dealing with anxiety, or if you want to be a better parent. Everybody is giving their best tips for like $14. Whether you want to listen
Right.
to it on Audible, whether you want to read it, I love a physical book because then you can highlight and you can write, and I want you to take that in. So that's made a profound impact on me for the past, since 2017 when I discovered personal development. And I think the fourth one, exercise, is one of the most important. I think women put this off, but I think if there is one habit that's the most important behind staying sober, is exercise. It's so important. It does not have to be a lot to get started. If you follow me on Instagram, I go on these 10-minute walks, because I think so often we go have this all or nothing mentality of, if I can't do 30 minutes and it's like a hit workout, I'm just not going to do it. And there's so much magic in walking, and really feel like walking is the new black. There's so much opportunity with getting outside, vitamin D. You get a change of scenery, changing of an environment. Morning sunlight can help you sleep. Exercise can help curb a craving, right? Most cravings last between like 10 to 20 minutes, maybe 2 hours. Exercise gives you a break from your thoughts. It's going to boost that dopamine and serotonin and endorphins. It's going to help improve blood flow to the brain. And when we drink, we decrease that blood flow. Super, super important for brain flow, for feeling better. It's going to boost your confidence because it's going to give you a sense of achievement. There's so many benefits to just a little bit of movement. And again, you don't have to bite off so much to get started. Start with 5 minutes, start with 10 minutes. I know a 10-minute walk doesn't seem like much, but for your mental health, those outdoor walks are for my mental health. And I never regret getting outside and going for a walk. I never regret a workout, ever. Ever. And so find workouts that you love to do. And if you don't know what that is, try new things. Raking, snowing, or shoveling, walking, bar, not the bar, but like BARRE. Or I love strength training. Little did I know it. Find something that you really like to do. And if you want, watch your favorite show while you do it, or listen to a podcast. You want to know what I listen to when I work out? I listen to podcasts all the time. I get in my mental fitness, I get in my physical fitness, and it's all working together to get me from someone who had a very negative mindset into something who's really actively choosing to find the good. And I'm not perfect at it, but man, I try my hardest to do my best at it. Um, and then getting into which one haven't I done? Exercise, gratitude, reading, water. And I think the last one is checking in. So checking into a group, making sure you have a sober community. There's so many out there, and if you don't know of one, try a few out and see how you feel in it. And in the program, I have women check in every single day. Every single day at 6 p.m., they rate their day, how they're feeling, and it gives us a chance to get to know what they're going through. It also gives them a chance to check a box that they're sober. And I think that little box and having these habit trackers, which I have in my groups, produces dopamine. And even if you didn't get all these other habits, look at what you did show up for. And when you can cross those off, that is a little daily win of you showing up for yourself. And how can you boost confidence? By showing up for what you say you're going to do. I'm going to do this. That little check mark is a little dopamine hit. And so we check into the group, let us know how you're doing. And if you don't, again, sober community is so stinking important. Whether it's a Facebook group, whether it's a program, whether it's a membership, whether it's a meeting that you find some people that you vibe well with. And so that's super important. So again, stay sober, drink water, read, move your body, gratitude, and checking into a group. Now, do you have to check into the group every day? No, but initially, yeah. I know how big of a check those first few days, those first few weeks are to say that you're sober. And so even if you're not, let us check in on you too. So, but make sure again, you're connected to that sober community.
Yeah. Well, I can definitely attest of how powerful these habits are. These all changed my life as well. Like there's a version of me who was knew nothing about this stuff. I mean, maybe I drink water because I'm just had that one checked all the time, but like, nothing else was necessarily like a normal part of my day in life. And then as I went alcohol free, like all of this became my new norm and it changed my life so much. And I think that yeah, there are people who like remove alcohol and not that much changes, but it's like it's as if they're not hungry to get to this next level of growth. And it's like once you get there and you keep pushing yourself to get to the next level and just being curious and learning more and self-reflecting and being more honest with what you want, like it's inevitable that life is going to get better and better and better and better. Obviously, like you say, curveballs or seasons come and stuff like that, but that's the whole point of it. And I love that you have that in your program. I know I have them built into mine as well for people to do because of just how you're right. I'm the type of person who has like even journals here where like I check off all kinds of things that I do. I don't mean like a to-do list. I mean like little habits that just make me feel like, wow, I ate a piece of vegetable today. Yes.
Well, you need those reminders. I need visual, like make your habits visual. If out of sight, out of mind, right? And so whatever habit that we want to start, you got to make it visual, whether it's putting what you want to do out in front of you, making that checklist, putting it up where you can see it every day until it just becomes a way of life. Right. And so I know even in the beginning, in the first 4 years of my sobriety, I was living a very like dry drunk lifestyle. I was kind of like ho humming, like popped out a couple kids. And I just really thought that I didn't have any friends. I was just kind of going through life and raising my kids. And I really feel like the movement, the water, the personal development, the gratitude all help to boost my confidence in realizing I do have something to offer. I am pretty freaking fun. I do have friends. I just have to find the right people. And by putting yourself out there, you're then able to attract those that kind of think like you, that are into the same thing. And that's the beauty of Instagram, of social, is that you can find your community on there and everybody is out there. And you can do that by starting to share your story and what kind of your interests are. And those who match those are going to find you. And then that's why when we get together and the women in your community and the women in my community, I'm like, these women are amazing. I'm like, I don't know how I did not know of them before. And it's like, oh, it's like, I guess they're just like me. I'm seeing everybody who's just like me. And it's so cool when you guys all get together because you all have that share. Number one, sobriety connects us all, but they're all into taking care of themselves and just so excited about this opportunity. So I think that's what's so awesome about it is because everyone that shares their journey on social is going to have a different community and different women or men that want to connect with them based on what you're putting out. And so that's what I love about it, and the sober space on Instagram.
Yeah, I agree. Especially like in my niche, like as I'm working with alcohol-free entrepreneurs, like where in your local life are you gonna find those people? You know what I mean? Like that is like a unicorn basically. And yet there's so many of us out there, sober people who are building businesses and stuff like that. And I'm really curious, like as you've been building your business since, 2017 now, like it really just goes to show how much consistency matters, like over time you will grow, you will attract your ideal people, you will build and nurture things, you will build group programs and client success stories and all that kind of stuff. And I know this could be kind of like a little bit of a on the spot question, but I'm just curious, like as you're reflecting back, like what do you think are some of the like keys to your success in business and just something you'd want to impart someone who's maybe like at the beginning of building their own business?
Never give up. I know it sounds so cliche, is that I just kept going. And because I had this vision, and maybe it's, if you're just starting out, it starts with, what do you want to create? And when I went to Rise, I saw what I wanted. I'm like, I can see it now. And when before I got sober, or before I went into my last treatment, I saw what it could be like. And I think visualization is such a powerful tool, but we can't expect results to happen overnight. And I think that's something I learned with Rachel Hollis too, and all of the podcasts that I listen to, is how it may seem like an overnight success, but you don't see the years and years of continuing to show up on social, continuing to do the emails and all of that when no one comes, right? You just keep showing up and you find what works and you tweak it and you just keep going. And I think that's the key to success, is consistency. That's the key to habits. Consistency. My superpower is consistency. I and I'm a creature of habit, is because I eat a lot of the same foods. I do a lot of the same things because it works. I just keep showing up. I'm not perfect. I learn, I make mistakes, I fall, but I get back up and I keep going because it's worth it. And I think people's lives are worth it. And there's so many people out there that need help. And we're just getting started. We are just getting started at the sober movement. There's so many people questioning their relationship. My husband, not questioning his relationship, he just started drinking NA beer. I have been sober for 11 and a half years. He started drinking NA beer 1 year ago. He's hunting, everybody else is drinking beer. He's busting open his athletic. It takes time. And so you got to be patient. You keep showing up. You start by sharing on social, just like I did. You start by building those relationships, by figuring out, who am I? What do I value? And what do I want to create? And I'm going to start by sharing my story. And I'm going to start even if I have one like, even if I have 0 likes, and even if no one's watching, I'm going to show up. But you cannot expect this to be, and maybe there is a wild unicorn where it is an overnight success, but I promise you, they've been working for many years before that. And so to keep going, to keep pushing, and to never lose sight of what you want and what you can create, because you can do anything. The only thing that differs from you and I, from anybody who's just starting, is we never gave up. We just keep
Yeah.
going. So, and you never know when, maybe this group coaching program or your client or this post is going to go viral or whatever. You just keep doing it. And I think stay true to who you are. I think it's really easy in this business to get lost. Be like, well, she's doing that, and maybe I need to go like this. I know I myself has been like, maybe I need to do this or do this. And I'm like, you know what? I remember I just started doing this with reels. I hate reels. I think it takes so much time. But I'm like, why do I need to create these beautiful things? I'm just going to show myself working out. I have no makeup on. I'm in my bra, and that's who I am. And so I'm trying to listen more to just simplify it, just put it out there. And I don't know. And I continue to learn. And I think that's the key to entrepreneurs too, is they continue to learn. You're always a student, and you keep going, you keep growing. So,
Yeah. And that's why it's so fulfilling. I love it. I'm obsessed. I could keep talking to you forever, Jen. And I love what you say too, is that need to keep going, that desire. Like you said something deeper there around like there's a very deep why. Like you care so much about these people who need to be helped, that is like what pulls us. And I think sometimes like when it feels really overwhelming, like, you're supposed to post every day and you're supposed to email and you're supposed to have a podcast and just all these things feel like so many to-dos. It's like we need to reconnect with the bigger why of why we're doing this so that like all of that can seem so much more of like okay, well, this is what we do for the love of helping people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it has so much more of that depth and that impact. And when we're not connected with that, it all kind of falls flat, I think. So that's a really good reminder.
Yeah.
Where can we find you? This was like such a brilliant interview. I know people are going to want to reach out and DM you and all that kind of stuff. Where can people find you?
Yeah, I love to hang out on Instagram. So Jen Lee Hurst. I'm not Jen Lee, it's Jen Hurst. I just haven't contacted the Jen Hurst that has the handle and asked her if I could have it. So it's Jen Lee Hurst, JenLeeHirst. It's where I like to hang out. And you can also go to joinlighthousesobriety.com for all of my upcoming programs and more of what's coming up, including my journal.
Amazing. Well, we'll have all of that in the show notes and the show links. And as Jen said, she has a journal coming out, something you can buy and check off all these beautiful things. So I can't wait to see that myself too. Congratulations on all of that. And thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you so much.